Hi everybody, and welcome to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. Today we're going to be talking about, honestly, one of my favorite topics in personal finance. It's super inspiring and liberating, and that is called FIRE. So FIRE is a movement in personal finance that stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Essentially, it means maximizing your income, lowering your expenses, and investing as much as possible to be able to live off of your investments. That's what being financially independent means, that you can live off of your investments. In other words, you do not need to work to earn an income. Your income comes from what you've already put into the stock market. Once you can live off of your investments, you have the option to retire early, or at least retire from mandatory traditional work. And early can be anywhere between 40 and 57 years old, because traditional retirement age is considered 59 and a half. So how does FIRE work? FIRE is based around a concept called the 4% rule, which is actually stupidly simple to understand, and it makes a lot of sense. Based on the data from stock market returns, you can safely withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio and never run out of money, because your portfolio will continue to grow more than 4%, even over a long span of time with market fluctuations. What I love so much about the 4% rule is it shows us that retirement is not something we need to think about as a specific age. Instead, we can think about it as a number. And when you put the 4% rule in reverse, the math gets even simpler. All you need to do to determine an estimate of your retirement number is take your annual expenses and multiply them by 25. So for example, if you spend $35,000 a year, you need $875,000 in order to retire. That being said, in order to account for market fluctuations and unexpected expenses year to year, especially if you're losing healthcare benefits from traditional employment and things like that, a lot of experts believe that a 3% rule or a 3.5% rule might actually be safer. Either way, just having the numbers there and seeing what is safe for you based on your risk tolerance is such a liberating concept. But a lot of the faces and the media around the FIRE movement are super high earners. Accountants, engineers, software engineers, people that make a lot more money than teachers have the opportunity to. So the question remains, is FIRE possible on a teacher's salary? There is no doubt that teachers don't have the same earning potential as higher earner careers, but FIRE is absolutely still possible, and it is being pursued by teachers everywhere. So how do you reach FIRE as a teacher? It's the same concepts as FIRE anywhere, but we can specify them to our profession. The first thing you need to do is know your expenses and keep them pretty low. Lots of teachers are already great at this because there's a degree of forced frugality that comes with having a lower salary. But the easiest way, and I would argue the only effective way to know your expenses, be able to analyze them, and be able to spend intentionally is by keeping a budget. Go to the link in my description of this video, and I have a link to 2 free budget templates that I've created myself that work awesome for teachers. If you need a little bit more guidance analyzing your expenses through a budget, you can also purchase my Money Math Workbook, which I will link below as well. But you gotta keep a budget if you want to be fully aware of your expenses and be able to make choices about what could be potentially cut from your budget. Secondly, you need to increase your income as early as possible, because the earlier you invest, the more time that money has to grow. This means getting to the highest salary lane as quickly as possible through pursuing more education or any other things that would get you to the highest salary lane. Look for opportunities to get recurring stipends. So a lot of districts will give stipends yearly for teachers who have completed their national board certification or their national teaching license or other certificates. So know how your district works and work that system. Secondly, consider getting a side hustle. This could be something like a stipend position at your school. For example, I'm a coach. Or it could be selling things on Teachers Pay Teachers. Or honestly, probably the best way to go about this is by creating a side hustle out of a passion that you already have. Maybe that's creating something that you could sell on Etsy. Maybe it's walking dogs through Rover. But having a passion outside of your career is a great way to not get burnt out as an educator and to create a little bit of extra income to increase your annual income. You can also consider moving up to an administration role, becoming an assistant principal or a principal. This isn't for everyone, but if it is something that you think you might be good at or passionate about, then you should definitely consider it because you get paid a lot more in most districts for doing these kind of roles. After you have lowered your expenses and you have increased your income, what needs to happen is that you consistently balance your lifestyle inflation in order to keep it in check. And what this means is that you don't let the expenses and the costs of your lifestyle increase every time your salary increases. I don't believe there's any sense in trying to avoid lifestyle inflation entirely, but what you can do is when you get a raise, you can commit to investing a certain percentage of that raise. So maybe you invest 75% of what you're now making on top of what you were used to making. And that extra 25% can go back into your budget for spending on other things. And maybe some years you feel like you don't need to add anything more to your budget and you can entirely invest the raise that you received for going down another step on the salary scale. As long as you're making intentional choices that are a part of your bigger plan, you're taking the right steps with lifestyle inflation. After lowering your expenses, increasing your income, and having a plan for your lifestyle inflation, you need to understand your investment options. I did an entire video on investing as a teacher, which I will link down below. I would use that video on top of searching Investopedia and talking to professionals in your district to figure out what investment options are best for you. But I will say this is something that I think teachers actually have a unique opportunity with, because a lot of districts have access to what's called a 457B. And this is an investment option where you can withdraw your money before retirement age if you are no longer working for that district. So if you're interested in retiring early before age 59 and a half, you can do that penalty-free with a 457B. That rhymed. That's all I'll say about investing options for this video, but be sure to watch my investing video after you finish watching this one. And finally, once you've taken all of these steps, the next thing to do is to get inspired by other educators who are already on this journey. Obviously, you should subscribe to my channel and check me out on Instagram or go to my website, which I'll link all of that down below. But I am not the only teacher pursuing FIRE. There are so many out there, and you can probably find a teacher who has a story and a journey that is very similar to your own. So what I want everybody to do is check out the website educatorfi.com. This is one of my favorite resources for early retirement and financial independence for specifically teachers. The educator who created this website has done interviews with all kinds of teachers who are pursuing FI, including myself. And he also posts articles that are super helpful for any questions you have about teacher finance specifically. I will link the website down below. Go check him out. It is an incredible website and an incredible resource and one of my personal favorites. And the last thing I'll say is that you don't have to want to retire early to want to pursue financial independence. And the tenets of financial independence, lowering your expenses, increasing your income, etc., are applicable to people even if you don't want to retire early, but you're looking to build a lot of wealth, maybe to just have a very comfortable retirement when you do decide to retire, or to pass on to your children to start creating generational wealth. So while becoming financially independent and retiring early isn't for everybody, all of the concepts can be put into place to have a healthy financial lifestyle and situation. Please put any comments that you have or questions down below in the comment section, and I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much for joining me today on the channel. Be sure to subscribe if you want more content around teacher money. Have an amazing week, you guys, and I will see you next week.